Good morning, traders. Manny Cabrera, co-founder of MDT Trading Academy, with today's pre-market forecast for Tuesday, October the 29th. Let's quickly jump to our news items for today. Our news reports for this week, we are literally loaded this week. We have reports every single day. We have reports that are happening before the bell rings at 9:30 Eastern Time, and we have reports that happen after the bell. Today, for example, we have 10 a.m. CB Consumer Report. That's going to be reporting at 10 in the morning. And of course, the rest of the week, we have crude inventories. We have the FOMC statement on Wednesday, and the announcement of the federal funds rates. Are they going to cut it again? What are they going to do with them? And then we have a 2:30 press conference. It's going to be loaded with news tomorrow. On Thursday, we have unemployment cost index, personal spending. That all happens before that, but we have our famous 945 Chicago PMI. And then on Friday, of course, it's not going to be any exception. We start with average hourly rates. We have unemployment rates, ISM manufacturers, so on and so forth. So it's going to be a pretty busy week in reference to news reports, and it's also we're in the midst of the highest week in our earnings reporting for the quarter. So it's going to be a very busy week. In the midst of all this, we have all-time highs created once again. I think this is the 104th all-time high we've had since President Trump has been elected. We are at 3,042.75. That includes the overall the evening market, and this is something that we were expecting. Remember, we had talked about the no technical reasons for the market to move lower. We expected the market, unless something catastrophic happened that we weren't expecting, to continue its march. We realized that the market was consolidating in an ascending triangle. We saw the break a couple of days ago, and bam, eventually the market breaks, establishing an all-time high. Volume has gotten better. Obviously, it's still low comparatively to where it was on our downturn, but we're averaging about 122 million. We're still off our expected or our desired average of 1.1, but the HER is allowing us some really good ranges. Now, what can we expect today? Well, it's hard to tell what you can expect here from today, other than it looks like it's going to be a little bit of slow movement to the downside, but we can start to put our pieces together. Let's start at our higher time frame. Remember, we have this overall expected support level. This is the key support level here. So as the market remains above here, I think the market will continue to try to move higher. If we break through here, then we're going to start seeing some acceleration to the downside, which is possible, particularly in October. Still have a couple of days left. But we then established this shorter term one here, where the market was respecting and hit it 3 times. And then what I did was simply just copy this one and transpose it to the top, so that we can kind of channel the market, so we can see the market swings between the areas. And as you can see, that was the all-time high. We're coming off it, and now we're using the previous all-time high as support. So potentially the market can obviously use this as a launch pad to move maybe a little higher, or it can potentially move a little lower. So, and that's what it looks like we're trying to do this morning. If we look at this time frame here, we can see the market literally coming off the all-time high. We have another support level down here that started a couple of days back. That's a really key important one. We have immediate supports and resistances. We have midterm support and resistance, and we have longer term support and resistance. Now remember, this is all macro stuff. So within the context of macro, we have even more macro stuff. But here we're seeing the market coming off, and I think in our trade chart, you can see it. In our analysis chart, you can see a bit more clearly. Here's the resistance that we were talking about here. Here's the market compressing off the all-time highs. Very similar behavior. This is very typical behavior of the market. You hit the all-time high, establish the intraday low, market in between. Our initial move is probably going to be to the downside. We're expecting markets to use the intraday high of yesterday's support and potentially come down a little lower, and potentially hold this area and try to come right back. Markets don't like to stay too far from the all-time high. So let's see if we try running up there again. If we fail anytime during this consolidation here, we can definitely expect a little movement to the upside. Now, it's potential today, highly unlikely, but very potential that the market can come back up here again and try to make another run to this area here. But then this is the key area here. This will be a resistance area So this would be a big test for us right here. This is a big test to the upside here, big test to the downside here, and actually downside and upside, both here, downside and upside. So this is our first place that we have to start looking at to see what's going to happen. Is the market going to hold here and move lower, or is the market going to break through and try to use that as support once again, move higher, or is it going to break and use it as resistance this time and move a little lower before we see what else happens? You can see it again in our trade chart again a little bit more clearly. There is our support. There's our market breaking through our intraday low. There's the market testing this area. There it is testing this area. And this is a very key hit. And I think that's where it's going to happen. Now, regarding volume today, volume looks a little lower, just slightly lower than it was yesterday. So yesterday was a very, once it made a move to the upside, it pretty much died. So this is the kind of market we're expecting today. The closer we are to all-time highs, the more we seem to consolidate, the slower it actually turns to be. So just be prepared for those types of moves today. Take care. Have a great session.